I'm going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Good morning, Bears fans. I got my coffee all ready. We got a nice live morning show for you. Chidrax, you're up at 6 a.m. your time. True fan out there. Way to go. Good morning to all you. Happy Monday. Hope everybody's doing well. Like I said, coffee is halfway right now. As you can tell, words are still starting to process this early in the morning. But man, we got to go through some Bears stuff because normally I go live that night. Was a little under the weather, had some leftover Chinese food. So anyone who has had leftover Chinese knows that it's hit or miss. So I was like, what? Tomorrow morning is going to be the time. So for me, we sat down and like Shy Drax said, yeah. So with the family, a lot of them, it was like around bedtime. Kids were sick. Kids were actually grounded. And so they weren't able to watch it. But my newborn, 2-month-old, him and I were able to watch the game for a little bit, but man, this game was epic. How do we feel? I have this, like, what's the vibe of us Bears fans? I have that poll out there inside of the chat because right now it feels great. And I think this is what we wanted to see because Ben Johnson, first off, like, let's just start out with this 38-0 preseason, not preseason. That's the discipline of this team, like that we were talking about, where defense looked great, the offense was playing phenomenally, and just great all the way around. And yeah, it's preseason, but man, you see the discipline of this team, you see the coaching of this team, and I think they're going to have that same intensity. And it really felt like there was a little shot of Ben Johnson towards the end of the game where it felt like someone had to tell Ben, like, hey, like it's that Simpsons meme. Stop it. They're already dead, right? Like stop hitting them. Stop beating them down. Because it felt like Ben wanted to kick that field goal at the end, but they're like, okay, Ben, sportsmanship, don't do it. Don't make more enemies that you already made LaFleur your enemy. Don't make the Bills your enemy. But man, it just felt great. And the big thing too, we have to talk about Caleb. And what we saw to Caleb was I was nervous because I was like, okay, he's had 3 really good days of practice back to back to back, like we were talking about. And I'm like, just please look good. And what we saw was not what we've seen with, and this is what I'll push back on where people will say, well, it's preseason. When we saw like Justin Fields, and when we saw Mitch Trubisky, I remember Mitch Trubisky's first game like it was yesterday. I remember my brother he was like camping, or he was up north with a bunch of people. And I literally had to like FaceTime him the game, and we're like reacting because we're like, Mitch Trubisky's out there. Holy cow. And then we had Justin Fields. Mitch Trubisky was doing nothing but rollouts and easy little dump offs like that. Justin Fields was doing nothing but screens and plays like that. We saw Caleb Williams make a couple seam throws down the middle in the preseason game. That's where it's slightly different. Yes, you expect a starting quarterback to do this, but I just want to say that a little context on it. Yeah, he played more of an actual offense. Now, if you look at his actual stats, you can see that he was 6 of 10, 107 yards, 1 touchdown, 130 quarterback rating, no sacks, and only 1 sack on the entire game taken by Tyson Bagent. Caleb, the 4 incompletions. He got pushed with some pressure, goes out of the pocket, throws it to Olamide Zaccheaus' feet, and OZ could have maybe had that ball. Then also, too, there was a screen. Speaking of screens, there's a screen, and Buffalo found it out, threw it straight at the feet, basically. That was, like, obviously incomplete. And then Rome dropped one. Really wish that Rome would have had that. Like, that would have just been a nice, because it would have continued the drive. And 2, we didn't see a lot of Rome Odunze. And we've heard about this connection with Rome and Caleb. It just would have been really nice to have that, because then you go, okay, Rome, when are you going to show us this? So the other thing, too, is the wheel route to the running back. If we're talking about anything, that is something that I felt was probably the biggest coaching moment, because it seemed like that was kind of his second progression. Seems like he was a little bit late to the read. So not perfect, but that was something that just slightly disappointed, if you want to talk about it. But really, overall, great performance by Caleb. Awesome to see this offense out there, and just the first team offense looked great. So that was something that I really, really, really liked. Let's see what y'all are saying out there. What's good, Shy Drax? Yeah, exactly. The team was so crisp. That's the best way to say it. Like, it just felt good. The operation was good. And we had one holding call from, of course, Drew Dahlman. I was like, really, Dahlman out there? But even then, like, when we're watching the first team offense, I thought that the offense, the blocking looked good. And hats off to Newman. But Luke Newman's been someone that I've been talking about since the last week, where the tape review, Luke Newman looked great. And even like out there with the ones, Luke Newman looked good because he was out there for Joe Tooney. And the dude looks really, really good. If only you could play offensive line with just your interior players. If only that was the way, because the interior looked really solid, looked really good. And, we'll watch the tape a little bit more. But to me, Braxton Jones looked like he was a little bit off. He had some really good reps, but then there was one where it almost looked like he was kind of holding someone by the top of the shoulder pads. And then also there's another Darnell Wright one where Darnell Wright got pushed back. But the interior seemingly was good. Obviously, have not watched the tape yet. But also, too, just a side note, for everyone out there, we should be doing the All-22 tonight. That's why, if you're out there, hit the subscribe button with the notification bell. Just because I don't know if we're going to be doing this tonight or tomorrow night. So I just want to make sure that we have the official All-22 so we don't get dinged by YouTube like we did last time. So make sure that you get that. Make sure that you hit the notification bell so that you get notified. Mainly for that. The rest of the shows, yeah. But the All-22 shows, that's the stuff that you gotta go through. So also, Fabian, what's good? He said it's good to see something different from the offense. Amen. Exactly. And then Oracle of Hallis, good morning to the magnificent Bears fans. Good morning to you too. So then other little like summaries. This is one of those preseason games. Normally I have like a million individual players just on first watch. I'm like, okay, this guy did this guy did that. It was just fun to watch. And I just felt like I was just enjoying the game rather than like identifying individual people. And even like on defense, because here's like the snap counts. Let me switch over. Actually, don't have the defensive ones. Here, let me just throw this out. Like we said, early morning, half a cup of coffee in. So then here we go. This is live producing. So when we look at this, you realize how little of defense they actually played when Alex Cook had number one in snaps with 45. And then Walker was number 2 with 32 reps. Like 32 snaps. That's next to nothing. And then you go like, right in the middle of the sheet, you're talking about Power Eccles with 22 snaps, Xavier Carlton with 20, Noah Sewell with 17. And then you flip over to the offense and you have Jordan McFadden with a whopping 72, or Luke Newman with 53, Bagent with 47. Like the offense just played so much more than the defense that I don't have a lot of takeaways from the defense, but we'll break that down a little bit later. But actually, speaking of that, let's get into the injuries. So inside of the injuries, we do have to bring this up. We do have to talk about this because I'd say if we're talking about my biggest negative, the biggest negative of the day, I'll say is the injuries. Because, so first off, people that weren't playing today, Joe Tooney, Kyle Monungai. Kyle Monungai was actually someone that was more of like a dinged up on Friday. And when asked about it, Ryan Poles said, Monungai's fine. Don't worry about it. Travis Homer wasn't out there because he's the greatest special teamer of all time. And DeAndre Swift, Roshan Johnson, all those running backs not out there. But the other piece too we'll continue to talk about. Here, I'm just going to jot this down because we'll bring this up for the offense. But we'll just keep going who is out. Hankins was in with the ones, which I thought was interesting just because they had no running backs. And then Grady Jarrett was out yet again, not because of injury, but just because he's a veteran. Makes a lot of sense that you don't have him out there. But the people that were out a little bit later on, Deion Hankins was honestly looking pretty good at the running back position, got injured. Terrell Smith, that ankle, or not ankle, the knee, it looks like a knee injury. I'm nervous about that. He might be, I don't want to judge, but I'm pretty sure all of us kind of have the mindset that he's going to be out for the entire year, which it seemed like the Bears were already kind of trying to figure out the depth and what's happening at that cornerback position. Just unfortunate that he went down, because now they'll have to probably bring someone else in. And then also Dominique Robinson down with an ankle injury. Booker went down with a knee injury, and JP Richardson went down with an ankle injury. Now, no offense to the rest of the people, a lot of your depth just got banged up. So maybe Dom Rob, maybe that's not super crazy, but Booker, whenever you see knee injury, gets you nervous, especially since it's Dominique Robinson and Austin Booker, where we already had a lack of depth at that defensive end spot. A lot of us want to see what Booker is up to. The other thing too is, just some banged up defensive ends that are out there. So overall with the injuries, not good. That was our worst game for that. But now let's flip over back to the offense and let's see what y'all are saying. So 11% saying Super Bowl for the Bears. That's how we feeling. 33% saying playoffs. 44% saying I'd like to see more. And 11% saying it's preseason. But yeah, so that's what we have over here. So we got flying offense, never seen in Chicago. So hyped. What's good, Taco Man? And yeah, so out here, let's go into this offense. So the thing that I was typing out that I just wanted to make sure I remembered is, before we get into any actual stuff that we saw on the field, I really liked the Ryan Poles interviews, and I didn't like all the stuff that was talk about the stadium. I am so sick of stadium talk. I never talk about stadium talk on the show just because I don't care, because it's going to happen in like 10 years or so. So it's like, yeah, we'll talk about it when it's actually happening, when things are actually going on. But the thing that Ryan Poles brought up, he brought up a couple really interesting nuggets, one of which was when asked about people that were impressing him. He was talking about players that were impressing him during the game. And then he goes out of his way to bump up Kyle Monangai, who Kyle Monangai is not even playing. And like I said, he's only bumping up like, hey, Luther Burden's been blocking really well out here, and this person's been doing well. And then he's like, Kyle Monangai. He's like, man, Kyle Monangai. And like we said, there's always a negative about everyone. When you ask Dan Rochar about the offensive line, he's like, well, this guy's not been that good, but he's been doing this, right? And I'm pretty sure the only people that we have not really heard anything negative about is like Joe Tooney. And then Grady Jarrett actually hasn't had any negative. But like Kyle Monangai, people go out of his way. They go out of their way to bring up Monangai and talk about what he's doing. And I just want to highlight that, because also for fantasy purposes too, you'd have Kyle Monangai getting so much hype and so many, like, he just does things the right way. And like I've said on this show, that's just what you want. You want someone that can, Ben Johnson wants someone that can run the system. That's been my MO. That's been my biggest pound the table. He wants someone that can run his offensive system. We'll make the holes for you. You run through the holes and you get as many yards as possible. And everything that it's showing is that that's what Kyle Monangai does. And he might not be the most athletic. He might not be the biggest, but the guy can play football. So just a little bit of love for Kyle Monangai that was getting showed out there by Ryan Poles, unprompted, by the way. The other piece too is the other sides as well is, let's kind of continue to go through this offense. So if we're talking about the running game, Brown was someone that also, Ryan, that was the other person. Thanks, Drax, for that. Britton Brown was the other person that Ryan Poles boosted up and was like, he's doing well. And I got to give him kudos, because you had Britton Brown and Deion Hankins, these backups, these practice squad, no offense to them, practice squad players that are out there with the ones. And Deion Hankins was holding up in some pass pro. Brown was holding up in some pass pro. And I thought that they ran well. I was actually kind of impressed with what Deion Hankins was doing. I still love me some Ian Wheeler. I thought that Ian Wheeler was fighting hard, running hard with everything that he was doing. But it's going to be a battle for that practice squad spot. I still feel like it's Ian Wheeler's job. But Britton Brown and Deion Hankins are really, really, really starting to fight. That's the thing that I really liked. Also, Bears Junkie, good morning to you too, my good friend. Hope all is well. And then, Fabian saying, wondering what the running back room is going to look like. We have a lot of options. I agree, because I think there's the top of the list, right? Because you have what is going on with maybe I do think that Monungai is going to be getting a lot more touches than I think what we're expecting, just because of what they're saying about him, how they feel about him. And yet again, I wish I don't think I have the exact stats still up in my notepad. But I remember when we were talking about the running back position, I had all these different stats about how, just basically how when Ben Johnson took over the offense, he really did just axe majority of DeAndre Swift's carries and gave them to Jamal Williams. Even though Jamal Williams wasn't getting a lot more yards, it was just simply he's running my system. And Ben, if we know anything about Ben now, Ben is a very you got to do this, right? This is the expectation. You do this. Now, DeAndre Swift can still do that. I'm not saying he's going to be absolute garbage or anything like that, but it just seems like I think that they're going to have Monungai more involved. And there has been some, with Roschon Johnson, when he is out there, which unfortunately has been rare, he has been someone that is a goal line back, where that's where maybe then Monungai is going to be getting a lot more snaps than I think people are going to be thinking. But yeah, even when you hit these backups, you got Brown, you got Hankins, you got Wheeler. I thought that Wheeler was just going to walk away with it and be the practice squad guy. He's got competition for sure. So very, very, very good stuff. The other things too, as we kind of continue in this offense, I can't believe that I haven't said this guy's name yet. And just because of this, I'm going to end that one poll. I'm going to just ask, who is the most valuable Bear of the game? I'm just going to post this out. So I'm going to do Caleb. We're going to do Luther Burden. And then I'll do Tyson Bagent, because I know that there's Bagent fans out there. And then I'll just do other. And I'll just do comment. Then we can always add another one in there. So the person we have not talked about yet is Luther frickin' Burden. And Luther Burden is so good at football. Such a good football player. 3 catches, 49 yards in a preseason game. And the thing too about Luther Burden is, man, when I was doing that tape review, and yet again, I had to do the tape review behind closed doors, and then I told you all what I saw. If you watch what I saw, when I was talking about that, I said, if I was Tyson Bagent, I would just throw it to Luther Burden. No offense to the other receivers. Luther Burden was always open. And you saw that yesterday, where during the game, Luther always open. Luther always doing something. And then 2, you saw the blocking that he was doing as well. And going back to what Ryan Poles was talking about, Ryan Poles kind of said, he did kind of chuckle because they're like, oh man, he's hitting. And he did say, he's like, we didn't really see that when we first got him though. And that was some of the fears with Luther Burden, was attitude, was mentality. Obviously there's still a long season, and he's got a long, hopefully 4-year career at least with the Chicago Bears. So there's a lot of time. But kudos to our wide receivers coach for really Randall L bringing him in and kind of showing him the ropes. Because right now we have not heard anything negative about him out there. When he was first going out there, he had to really kind of hone his craft. People were saying, he's got this cockiness because he's really good. That's the thing. He knows he's good. And you saw it out there. He broke a tackle. As soon as he was in open field, my mind was he's 100% breaking that tackle. He's not going to let this backup bring him down on first tackle. What do you know? He shakes him. He was blocking. He did everything. Now, there was a illegal procedure at the very end of the first half that ended up happening that I just want to call out. But man, it just feels good because when we saw Caleb out there, we saw the ball go to our 2 tight ends. Loveland. It went to Loveland. It went to Komet. You felt it's like, that's awesome, right? And then Loveland gets another ball. It feels like when we're looking at this team, we have 2 solid tight ends. Obviously, Colston, he's still a rookie, so I still feel like you kind of got to put the dampeners on him, compress it a little bit and be like, okay, he's still a rookie, but you still have a NFL starting tight end in Cole Kmet. Regardless of how good you think he is or how great, how not great, whatever it is, he's still a good tight end in the NFL. And then you have someone that has all this receiving potential that in the NFL level or at the college level, and this is translating over to the NFL, he is someone that can get open. He is someone that can run routes. And that is what you're seeing out there already at the NFL level. And Ben Johnson, simply put, he gets tight ends. It seems like he looks at a tight end and goes, you're a mismatch. You're someone that can cause a lot of trouble, and they're going to be getting the ball. And then you look at it too. Then you look at the wide receivers. You have Luther Burden as your 4th wide receiver. And like we've said this before, Olamide Zaccheaus is not a number 2, a number 1 receiver, but he is exactly what you want at your number 3 wide receiver position. He's a good receiver. He's a trustworthy wide receiver, and you don't have this giant deal tied to him. He was a free agent that you brought in, and it gives you a lot of flexibility. And you have DJ and Rome. That's awesome. Right? So that just feels very, very, very good. So that's the stuff that I love to see with this offense overall. The other pieces as well is, like I said, so the tight ends getting involved, and then we saw the wide receivers getting involved. We saw Tyler Scott get involved too. I want to watch it because Tyler Scott started the day off not so great. We'll go into that with the special teams piece. And then there was another block that it seemed like he completely whiffed on. I just still feel like, even though, yes, he had a touchdown, 54 yards, 3 receptions, I still feel like he's not going. I still would be more surprised if he made the team than the other, just because I feel like they like Maurice Alexander. I feel like they have a lot of other good depth pieces at the receiver position. So that's my feeling with these wide receivers at least. But let's see what y'all are saying out there in the comments. So first off, MVB so far is going to Tyson Bagent out there in the comments. He had a great game. We'll talk about that next. And then what else do we have? We got Caleb out there. We got John. What's good, John? He says we have 3 rookies that will be in the Rookie of the Year race. Loveland, Burden, Manungai. They're looking good. And the thing, too, is like I said, Luke Newman quietly is looking good at that guard spot. I also saw Olin Kreutz also say, like, yeah, that Luke Newman's looking good. It's like, yep, seeing him out there playing, he looks good. He looks really, really good. The other stuff, too, Bagent, a lot of people with the Bagent stuff. And then let's see what else. Yeah, other little aspects. Broski, what's good? Yeah, and saying, is it just me or JP Richardson become invisible? Yeah, JP Richardson, now he was injured later on, but yeah, JP Richardson was the guy that was supposed to be our Tanner Gentry. We're not seeing him anymore. Like, we are not seeing this. That was the guy that we're like, oh, no brainer. He's the Tanner Gentry. He's going to be the preseason darling. 2 catches, 21 yards, but very quiet. Yet again, we see, Samari too, right? 3 catches, 48 yards. But it seems like I know myself, I'm looking more for Jahdae Walker. And Jahdae Walker too, yet again, we'll talk more on special teams. He almost got a lot of blocks out there on special teams. Now, they kept saying Zay Frazier because they have the exact same number. But still, Jahdae Walker, someone that was looking really good out there. But now let's talk more about this, the quarterback position. So Caleb, we broke that down, discussed that. Austin Reed still feel like he can't throw a deep ball. Still, I would be very shocked if he ends up making the practice squad. But Tyson Bagent had a game, right? And I know like there's this mini civil war kind of happening among Bagent and Williams. Why can't we all just be happy and just be excited that we have two quarterbacks that are playing well. Bagent looked really good. He got up, and because there's that one play that there's some pressure in his face, steps up, you think he's going to run it, ends up throwing it, gets a big game. He had a very, very, very good game overall, commanded the huddle very nicely. And people might be like, well, yeah, backups. You saw what Mike White did. You saw what Mitch Trubisky did. They didn't do what Tyson Bagent was doing. Now in the second half, it fizzled a little bit more, but man, he played well. He really, really, really did play well. And you got to feel good about that with a backup, because yet again, it was a very, very long time since we've seen a quarterback for the Chicago Bears go all 17 games. So that's what that's what I really liked seeing out there with Bagent. But continuing on, the other thing that I want to discuss is just this offensive line, because I know we all want to talk O-line. Yet again, when we're doing the review, I'll know a lot more about this. And one other thing about Luther Burden, I think Greg Olsen said something that Ryan Poles didn't want to be publicized, but Greg Olsen said that Ryan Poles told him, and he's like, I shouldn't say this. For those that were watching the broadcast and caught this, he's like, Luther Burden, he said, he's told me that Luther Burden could be better than both Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. And he's not lying. Luther's got all the talent in the world. And that's why, yet again, like we've talked about plenty of times on this show, draft good players. Draft the people that are the consensus better, right? Luther Burden was supposed to be a first-round pick. You draft him, and you see the talent. That's the difference between first-round talent, legitimate first-round talent, and second-round talent. You're seeing it just kind of tick off exactly like that. So Luther Burden going off. But let's talk about this offensive line. Because the offensive line, the starters, like we've said, so far looked pretty good. And it made you kind of feel at ease. Yet again, they're not going against Joey Bosa. And, Bosa is not on the other side, like during practice or Rousseau. But still kind of held their own. Like I said, I felt like I saw some Braxton Jones mishaps. But it still feels like Braxton Jones, they're trying to make him, they're just all right, try and get healthy. You're our best bet at the left tackle spot, right? You go. But I'll say this. Theo Benedict, I watched a good amount of him. I really liked what I saw. Now, yet again, we'll grind the tape. We'll see what every single snap has to offer. But the thing that I really, really liked about Benedict is one of my favorite things in the run game is someone that can get to the next level. And not just completely whiff your block and run to the next level. Benedict, I felt, just on first watch, looked really good, holding his guy to the side so that he would pass him off to the left guard, and then he would get to that next level. And I thought he had very, very good athleticism. He was also bigger than what I thought, too. And this was really my true first time really sitting down and just looking at him. Because when we were doing the entire tape review, when I was watching the All-22, I wasn't looking as closely because I was like, well, how much is he actually going to play? And then now he's in the competition for the first team reps. But it does still feel like since Braxton got all the first team snaps and then they throw in Benedict, it does feel like it's still, like we've said, Braxton's job. I would have liked, like I've said before, I would have liked to see Theo out there. Yeah, there's still backups, but I would have liked to just see him with the first team. But I think that there's something to Theo and the way that he looks. Next is it does seem like Ozzy's going to be the swing tackle. They had him out there at the right side. Still looked pretty good from what I saw at first glance, but also looking at Karan Amagaji, Karan did not look good. Just from my little bits. There's the times, there's the pops on the touchdown run where they're look at him just plow this entire line over. And that's where my comp for Karan coming out was actually Braxton Jones. So I hate saying it, but it's it seems very, very, very similar where there's Braxton in the run game. There's these huge pops that you see, but then there's these other things where it just doesn't feel like he knows where to be. So that's where it didn't seem like he was that good. Obviously we'll check it out. But yeah, I did not necessarily love what I saw out of him from it. But then also too, yeah, like I said, I see also why they liked Benedict as the left tackle, because like I said, when I was watching Ozzy, I felt like Ozzy at the left tackle, I didn't see this pop. And I know some people don't like me saying that, but I didn't. Right tackle, he seemed a lot more comfortable just on first watch. And Theo, looking at him at left tackle, he seems very comfortable that there's potentially something there. So we'll see. We'll see for sure. But that's, I guess, overall, I'm trying to think of anything else from the line, but nothing else too crazy. But let's see what y'all are saying out there in the chat. Let's see what else we got. Scott was a 4th round pick, so polls will look for reasons to keep him. Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, I'm just curious how much Ben seems to have a lot of draw when it comes to the offense. That's my only thing. So, yeah, Scott had that muff. It was funny because like I have like a little group chat and we're like talking about the Bears game and we're like, oh, Scott, get him off the team. And then he ends up going off a little bit. But yeah, it just seems like at this point they might be expecting a little bit more. Yeah, Drax saying, yeah, Golden versus Burden. I like that. And yes, hit the like button for sure out there. And Broski saying, did Pickens show anything? Perfect segue over to the defense. Because when you look at the defense and we look at like the snap counts, first off, I felt like I didn't see a lot of Pickens out there. But Pickens was really out there in the 3rd quarter, 4th quarter. And I think that also shows a lot about the defensive tackle position battle. Because Zach Pickens, to me, it seems like he's going down. Because like Chris Williams looks good. He looks like, do I want him to start? No. But yet again, I think that he can be a depth piece. I think that he can at least move around. That's the thing that I want to see that's the thing that they want to see with Chris Williams. And Chris Williams is still, yet again, a young guy. So Chris Williams getting some, like, when he's out there, it looks like he's clearly above Zach Pickens. And would they flat out cut him? Would they flat out cut Zach Pickens? I mean, it's kind of looking that way when you look at the depth chart, because you look at, well, they have Grady Jarrett. They have Gervon Dexter. Gervon Dexter blew up a play in the backfield. Love to see that, like, first snap, right? Gervon's like, no, I'm still good at football. So you got those as the starters. Then you have Billings. And then you have Shamar Turner, who hopefully should be practicing this week. We'll have to see about that. And then you have your 5th man, Chris Williams. And I think Chris Williams is really showing that he should be the 5th guy. So then with Pickens, there's another, like Broski has in the chat, there's another 3rd round pick that you don't necessarily love. And you just might have to just move on from him, because it's going to be hard to kind of stash him on the practice squad. Where I'm not seeing that progression that you see with some of these other players. And it just feels like this is kind of who he is. Now, part of me is sour and part of me is bitter, because I really liked his quickness coming out of college. And I just felt like Flus never really dove into that. Like, that was his calling card when I was watching him. And I'm a little bitter about it, because I think that he could have been so much better as a true 3 technique. But it just seems like his time is kind of coming to an end. But as we continue to go on this whole defensive piece, Amen Ogbongbemiga, 6 tackles, Ruben Hippolyte, 5. Yet again, not a lot to talk about because of just all the crazy, just how good the Bears were out there. Andrew Billings, Big Bill with the sack, and also Booker with the sack. Now, PFF stats have Booker with 2 sacks. So they actually, and this is the thing too, I'm actually surprised they didn't give Booker a half a sack for Billings' sack, just because if you see that, Booker beat his guy as well. It's just Big Bill, you can't see anything past Big Bill. So it looks like it was kind of a half a sack, but I want to give Booker some credit too. But Big Bill, I mean, you got him going against backups. He completely obliterated 2 offensive linemen so that Booker could come free for the sack. And Booker, you saw him doing well. So hopefully that knee injury, hopefully there's nothing truly wrong with it. Hopefully it was just a little ding up and they just said, hey man, you've already shown that you're good. Let's take you out of here. because Booker looked, it wasn't as dominant, I'd say, as he was before, but he was good. Like, he was good. Nothing to get mad at there. But yeah, just overall with this defense, I don't really have a lot of takeaways, really. I didn't see much from the linebackers. We didn't see Ruben Hippolyte or anybody really kind of dominate up front like we did. It just was a good defensive performance. So I'm really excited to see just like the secondary. Was there anything that the secondary was doing that was causing them not to be able to pass the ball well, or anything like that? Kind of going through, Booker, good game. And then, defensive backs, nothing really too crazy to kind of write home about this defensive backfield. Power Eccles, I like Power Eccles, but I felt like there was a play that he kind of missed and didn't look great there. I want to see the coverage because it seemed like we had a lot of linebackers in man-to-man coverage. Ruben Hippolyte chasing down some tight ends. It just felt like Mike White was also kind of missing some throws. So we'll have to see. Defense, I feel bad. It's like they're just they had an entire shutout. And it's like, well, what can we talk about? Well, they were good, right? And Amen, got a forced fumble. They played so well as a unit. And that's the sign of good coaching. And they showed the numbers of Dennis Allen, and it made it look really good. Him as a DC, you just saw the progression where he took over a defense. They were 31st. And then every year they got better and better and better and better and better. That's what you want to see out of your defensive coordinator. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they have about there. But yeah, let's see what else we got. Yeah, good point, Drax. Like, Ben Johnson's going to want his own types of people and what he wants. And I think that's the other thing too, is with the regime, Ben does seem like he's got a lot of control as like with the GM about what exactly he wants out there. And like Brian Poles even talked about it too. Ben really wanted, he knew Jonah Jackson. He really knew Jonah. So he wanted to go get him. And then Brian Poles knew Joe Tooney. I mean, it's not a stretch to say, go get the best left guard in football. Right. But yeah, so it does seem like he's got a lot of say in personnel decisions from the offensive side, which heck, I'm glad that they have that relationship for sure. But now let's get into the special teams, where the special teams didn't suck. You want to talk about MVP? Let's give it to the special teams because they significantly got better than when they were going against Miami. Like, in all seriousness, they did. They were so tough to watch, difficult to watch, and they stopped them. They weren't bringing them out to the midfield every single kick return, every single punt return. They were making some plays. And like I said, Johnny Walker really did stand out as someone that was, he wasn't one of the people that protect the gunners on the outside, but anytime that they were trying to go after the punt, he was almost getting there. And guarantee you, people are seeing that and going, like when we were talking about Scott, they're probably looking at this going like, Jade's playing. And Ryan Poles called out Jade Walker too. They're like, this guy just likes football. That's the thing. And yeah, weren't gross drink. Hey, I'll have some coffee. I'll have some coffee in the morning then. But yeah, then the biggest thing, and yeah, Taco Man, thanks for keeping me honest with this. Yeah, the bad part, the gross part, one would say, is what happened on that first kickoff where you see Tyler Scott out there and you're like, what are you doing? Like, it literally, the ball kicks, he touches the ball, and you're like, what are you? And I think that's the difference between, like Tyler Scott. When you talk about Tyler Scott versus Maurice Alexander or versus some of these other wide receivers, for those positions, I think the thing is Tyler Scott feels very flusy, if that makes sense. Like, and I know flusy is its own adjective in itself, not even in Bears context. But exactly, you cannot trust Tyler Scott as much as you can trust some of these other players, because that's kind of what it felt with Matt Eberflus. It was like, okay, what bad is going to happen with some of these players? And I think that's kind of how it feels with Tyler Scott. Is he going to do something wrong? Is he not going to do exactly what we want? And yet again, Ben Johnson's system and this entire mindset is do your job, do what we are giving to you and what we want you to get out there. So That's the big feeling. I just don't think he's going to be out there. He's got the yeah, exactly. He's got the speed. He really does. Like when I was watching the tape, you see the speed. Like he really is fast. It just seems like he doesn't get how to play. And even like when you saw the big play that he ended up getting, how far was that? 35 yards. Look at what he did. He wasn't making people miss. He wasn't really doing anything. He was wide open on a bootleg. And then he just ran forward, right? Like, I'm not trying to just diminish it. The touchdown catch was incredible. It was a very, very good catch. I just feel like they're probably moving away from some of that. But also, too, Torrey Taylor, I hope that he's purposely trying to get it into the end zone. We're not seeing any coffin corners. We're not seeing some greatness out of that. So, yeah, I started off thinking that special teams was perfect. But, yeah, there's definitely some learning that needed to happen. Let's go over to most valuable Bear. And let's see. So 44% are saying Caleb, 19% saying Luther, 25% saying Tyson, and 12% saying other. My take, if I'm just going down who my most valuable Bear was, and we're just kind of talking about who was the best, right? On the defensive side, it's hard to give it out to anybody. Big Bill, just because he's Big Bill. But Big Bill had a very good game. You know, we could cheat and just say the coaching staff because it felt like it was just very well coached. The defense was very well coached. Dennis Allen was very, very ferocious. And then you have, like, he sent 2 safety blitzes in a row against Bouchel. It was like, oh my gosh, like this is the 4th quarter, man. This is 3 minutes left. And he's like, do it again. Send the blitz. Send the mess. It's about sending a message. Like, get him again, right? And that was just crazy. But then also you just see like what Ben Johnson, what this offense was doing. And you had the 2 running backs back there. I mean, you could also say Wheeler. I even forgot about Wheeler being out there. Wheeler played very, very well. But I got to say, like, just because of the context, just because of the hate that Caleb's been getting. And like we've said this before, like I forget that Caleb threw for over 3,500 yards last season. And that doesn't include, right? That doesn't include running yards. That's passing yards. And the fact, or was it over 340 or 3,400, right? Was it 3,400, 3,500? All that you got to know is that it wasn't bad. And it's like literally people are treating him like he threw for 2,000 yards and 20 interceptions and 16 touchdowns. And you see it and you're like, the dude had 3,500 passing yards and like 20 plus touchdowns and only like 6 interceptions. Like, give him a break. And then he goes out there and he plays well, right? That's, to me, I think that's like the context. Caleb gets it in my book, right? But I think that you could argue that he was not doing the greatest out of the other ones. Like, Bagent led the charge right after that. So I'm giving mine to Caleb, and I would not fault anybody for giving it to Bagent. I would not fault anybody for giving it to Luther Burden because, man, Luther Burden was blocking well and did exactly what you wanted to see. I think the people that did if you had to rank people that really showed what they needed to do, it's Caleb and Luther. Like, it's those two, because there were so many like, well, what are they going to do? And, Luther doesn't want to play football. And he's like, nah, dude, I'm going to knock this guy out 3 yards into the end zone. That's what I'm going to do. So I really like that. I really, 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 really like what we saw out there. Yeah. But he's a first round generational prospect. Yeah. So I loved it. It was a fun game. And like I said, for everyone out there on YouTube, if you're new to the show, first off, welcome. We like to do fun Bears things here. So with this, what we're going to do is we're going to have the All-22 review. So help me. We will have it. Just make sure to hit the notification bell, subscribe. Like I said, they're going to release the videos. Usually it takes like 24 to 48 hours for it to officially be out there. There's ways that I discovered that I got into to figure out how we can actually get it playing, because they do not show preseason games in NFL Pro, which is what we use during the regular season. So don't worry. We will find it. And we will find it and we will watch it. So stay tuned. Hit that like button. download the podcast if you don't want to see me and you just want to listen to me. So make sure to download the podcast everywhere you get your podcast. And with that, have a great Monday. Unbearable Sports Podcast. We are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a bride.